please rise for the mayor will offer invocation and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We are thankful for another opportunity to gather to discuss the business of the Pottstown Borough. And we would ask to be granted with wisdom from above, wisdom that is uncluttered by our own human opinion, but laced and graced with the wisdom that comes from divine portals. We ask this, and we are gracious to receive. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the roll call, please.
Vice President Geary.
Here.
Councilor Kirkland. Here. Councilor Cook. Here. Councilor Miller. Here. Councilor Broxall.
Here.
Councilor Wien.
Here.
Mayor Thomas. Here. President Troni is absent. There is a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5 on the agenda, the approval of minutes. We have the February 10 council meeting minutes first, and then the February 25th, 2014 joint school board / borough council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the February 10th, 2014 council meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And is there a motion to approve the February 25th, 2014 joint school board / borough council meeting minutes?
Moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Comments from citizens?
Barry Beasley Jr.
Can everybody hear me? Alright, can everybody hear me? I live on the 300 block of Jefferson Ave, and I just wanted to come to talk about the Beach Street Factory project. I came last Wednesday, I guess expecting there to be a different, scope of project presented than what was presented. I guess it was in March last year to the Planning Commission. And I was a little disappointed because, to me it seems like the same project that was presented, just now they've added that Art Fusion will relocate from High Street to Beach and Evans, which is great, that's fine. I still have issues with it. The density of it, 43 units at Beach and Evans, in an already overly populated area, is a concern to me. Another issue that's going to come with that is parking. I think they have 62 spaces, on that slide that they presented. 18 of them are on-street parking, and I can tell you, if you drive up North Evans Street right now, chances are you're going to maybe find 1 or 2 open spaces to park at. There might be a few open spaces on Beach Street in front of it, but maybe, I think they have 11 marked right now, I'd say maybe 8 or 9. And then if you look at the small lot across from the building, they have 8 cars that are supposed to be parallel parked, 9 feet width with each space, 18-foot length, and it looks like the travel aisle that you have to try to parallel park is about 12 feet wide. Now I parallel park every day, and I can tell you, you're going to need a little bit more wiggle room than that, in order to get your car in there without banging up somebody else's. So if you drop that down to 6, your 62 spaces is somewhere around 40 something now. And it's not like you can have somebody go park up Evans Street a little bit further because that's packed. You can't tell them to go park Beach Street up there because that's packed. You're not going to tell them to go down Evans Street towards Mr. Coxville, direction, because that stretch of Evans Street is packed. And I think just last month, one of your citizens was here complaining about parking in the area. So I think that's an issue that has to be addressed. I don't know how you do it with 43 units, multifamily units at that, but I would hope it's something you all look at. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. No one else has signed up for comments, so we'll move on to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Geary. I'd like to report on attending a preliminary hearing at the offices of Judge Crock with Chief Drumheller and a very strong showing of support of Pottstown Police and other staff members. And our officers were very forthright in their presentation of recalling the events of the unfortunate incident at the Elks Lodge. And there will be an arraignment hearing, which we won't be a part of, but we will receive a report of the outcome of those proceedings. I'd like to share about the joint meeting between the Pottstown School District and the borough. And the main thing that I got from that meeting, of course, the Still River Playhouse is beautiful, but I'd just like to say that the Pottstown Health and Wellness Foundation, the presentation that they gave us about the leading cause of death to residents in the borough, which, you know, traditionally our mind perks up to remember the cancer statistics, but this presentation yielded information that says it's auto accidents, and that these auto accidents are not happening in the borough, but they're happening when people, you know, leave the borough and go to other places. In my mind, it leads to a necessity for some additional layers of driving skills, management, or remediation for drivers. You know, there are several things that we're kind of tossing around at the moment preliminarily, but I believe as a public safety measure, both for navigating the borough itself, some things we just talked about in the safety committee, about younger people having more gadgets in the car, more gadgets on their face here, there, and everywhere, just enhancing the whole gamut of public safety as it relates to operating a motor vehicle. I think that was a serious prompt to me. The second issue that the Health and Wellness noted as the cause of death was stroke. And I believe through their wellness initiatives, there's another opportunity for many nonprofit organizations to increase awareness. I attended the Human Relations Commission and received an update of their draft minutes regarding the telephone. And I believe that now the phone has been restored to the borough number. Is that correct, Mr. Frank?
That's correct.
So there's now a borough number that can be called, and their offices were suspended in service from phone and from internet for some time in the fall till, I believe, mid-January. So last year, the Human Relations Commission, I know this is kind of preemptive, but they received 79 calls. They have to send these calls now through Philadelphia. And I would say that as we move forward as a commission to make our services available to the region, because not every borough has this in their ordinance, to have a Human Relations Commission to field or facilitate issues that residents are having of whatever nature or problematic concerns they may have. Just that we have mediators, and those mediators can, you know, decide if this is something for the commission to handle in-house, but they all are documented in Philadelphia. That's it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Geary. Just wanted to bring council up to speed on the status of the mini golf. We're working through the punch list currently, which is pretty weather problematic right now, as you can imagine. In the process of hiring staff, we anticipate a soft opening will occur sometime in May, with public opening in June of this year. Don't hold your breath. We're still working on it, but we're getting there. March 1st signaled the beginning of tax collection season. It also signaled the beginning of the borough of Pottstown, rather than the Pottstown School District, collecting taxes. I'd like to state thank you to Janice and her staff. It seems to be going smoothly without too many problems. A few lines here and there, but that's to be anticipated. I believe I advised you last month that the borough began the process of using social networking, Facebook, for the purpose of communicating with members and reaching the members of our community. I'm happy to tell you that as of this past weekend, we are currently reaching 1,500 people on Facebook after 1 month. Just as informational, and if you want the information, we will get it to you on April the 3rd from 10 to 11:30 a.m. Senator Mensch is hosting a crime and fraud event at the Greenfield Senior Living Facility in Schwenksville. Anyone who has constituents that might be interested in attending that, get a hold of Jenny or myself and we'll get you that information. And last but not least, earlier today I emailed a copy of the draft themes and goals for the new county comprehensive plan, Montco 2040. Please take a look at them, and there's a link in the email to fill out the short survey that the county is asking that we do. And with that, it is included, I believe, with the email. With that, that's the extent of my report.
Thank you, sir. Subcommittee reports, finance and administration.
Thank you. We did have a short meeting last Wednesday prior to the committee of the whole. The topic of discussion, there's been an application forward for Spriggles Run LLC. They are the owners of the site on Pottstown on High Street, and Tompkins Insurance plus a bank are looking to go to open in that facility. They're seeking a $50,000 grant, and to start out, they'll be providing us with 7 new jobs. This does include a 20% match by the borough, and fortunately, the borough's match is covered by other grants. So we're in good shape there. It's the committee's recommendation to pay that they proceed and bring the new jobs in. Janice gave us a report of the combined cash investment, and as of February 28th, even though no taxes have been collected, we're in pretty good shape. I don't know how well we're going to be next year with the storm we just weathered and paid for. But we did have a discussion about applying to FEMA for reimbursement for storm events, and we'll probably have an answer and feedback about that next time. That's all I have.
Sir.
In regard to that, Mr. Wind,
Yes.
we received notification from the county that Montgomery County did not qualify. The total financial loss of the county was not sufficient enough to activate the disaster declaration.
Good try.
So if we had higher bills, that would have helped us.
Correct.
Won't help us with the lower.
Correct.
That's logic. Sounds like government.
No comment.
That's it for your report. Thank you, Mr. Wayne. For the safety committee, or subcommittee, we did meet this evening just prior to the council meeting. Because the safety committee is pretty much all new, it's Councilors Proskal, Miller, and me, and they're both brand new to council, and I'm brand new to the committee. So it was really just kind of an informational opportunity for us to speak with the police, fire, and EMS folks as to the function of the committee. We did have a few issues that we discussed. One was issues with the police and monitoring for abandoned vehicles, how information gets relayed from us, the council members, through to the police department, which is through the borough manager. We talked a little bit about the fire equipment, the aging fire equipment that our fire departments have, and the mayor mentioned some issues with lighting at the intersection of Farmington and State Street, and also with maybe doing something to kind of re-inform the citizens of the borough about leash laws and proper enforcement of leash laws with dogs as we head into as the weather starts getting nicer. And another issue we discussed was the issue with where they're doing the traffic work at Charlotte Beach, where the stop here signs have been moved back, and because they're new signs, and the no right turn on red sign is just posted alongside the road, not up on the traffic signal like most are, that people seem to be missing it. So just asked if we could look into that, and I think the chief's going to take a look at that. That's it for the safety committee, unless you have anything you want to add. Committee reports. Library. Mr. Green.
Just a quick report today. We have spent most of our last year and a significant part of this year concentrating on taking care of the physical plan at the library. The building is an old building. Those of you who have been coming to these meetings on a regular basis know, you've heard me say this, but for those of you who haven't heard it, the building will be 100 years old in a short period of time. And with that comes a lot of responsibility to maintain it. And because it has now taken place as a historic site, we can't simply repair as we normally would. We have to restore. That means putting it back into a condition similar to the way it was when it was first built. That means more money, more time, more effort to cut through the red tape and do this. But we've managed so far to do that for the exterior. We have a new roof, we have a new heating system, we have a new air conditioning system, so hopefully we'll be ready for the hot summers that the meteorologists are telling us are going to be on the way in the midst of some of the chill we've just been through. So we think we're in good shape with regard to that. We are now looking at the interior. For those of you who are, again, familiar with the building, we have what is referred to as a mezzanine level. There's the main floor, and then there's a walk-up level that's halfway between the main floor and the floor above, which we're not able to use. That's referred to as the mezzanine. That has a lot of work in it, and that's where our next area of concentration is going to be. There has been some water damage over the years, other kinds of damage over the years. We're going to try to remodel that and generally try to make the building look more pleasant and receptive for you when you visit, to get your electronic books and to download books to your Nooks and all of the other electronic things that we're doing. We have a collection now that's a little bit over 80,000 volumes, which we're now shedding the older volumes that are out of date. More of what we're getting is electronic in nature, so there may not be a book on the shelf, but there will still be plenty for you to read. We do have a new annual report that's out. I invite you to go to the library to get it. The one thing I'd like to point out with regard to that is if you look at our income and our expenses, you will see that we're running at a loss. That's an annual loss. It averages between $2,500 and $3,000 a month. We usually are able to make up a lot of that through the fundraising, which the little pie graph tells you how much effort we put into fundraising. We do generate some income with library-generated services like passport fees and faxing and things along those lines, relatively small. What I would like you to do is to welcome our new representative, Mr. Tim Hennessy, who now represents a portion of our town, and ask him to continue to support library refunding. Over the past 10 years, library funding has regressed by about 30% over what it used to be. So the little pie graph will tell you the state contributes about 18% of our budget, and that is about 30% lower than it should be, which will mean if that piece gets bigger, the fundraising and the other things will get a little smaller, so we won't have quite as much work to do. So one highlight with regard to the library. And then with regard to that, I'll close by saying our next fundraiser is a Celtic concert. Those of you who are familiar with Charlie Zahm know that he's probably one of the most well-known Celtic musicians on the East Coast. He's going to be at the library March 21st, 7 o'clock. Reasonable price for the tickets, $12 for adults, $8 for kids aged 5 to 14. We don't have infinite number of rooms. The tickets are moving, so if you're interested, please get to the library and get your tickets. The other thing I'd like to point out is that we do have a series presented by Michael Snyder, the gentleman who often writes these supplements on Sundays, historical events in Pottstown that you read about in the Mercury. He will be presenting the last 6 months of 1864 concerning the Civil War. That's a series for 6 weeks, 6 Wednesdays. The first one will start this coming Wednesday. If you're a Civil War buff or interested in Civil War history, this would be a very good adult activity, or teenagers who are interested in Civil War. And attending it will help the library, so thank you very much. And thank you for your continued support.
Thank you, sir. Human Relations?
I did give a majority of the report, but I would like to say that the commission has agreed to accept my recommendation to appoint Chad Rick Lynn, attorneys at law, which is a local firm. He's offered to operate it in a solicitorship pro bono for the commission. So that's very exciting to me. And also, just to give you a little bit of insight, I'm not a member of the Human Relations Commission. It's like an oversight capacity as well, similar to the police department. I do go to the meeting, and I'm there in the beginning, and then I actually do leave the meeting. But I would like to just stress that the dynamic, the social dynamic, the economic climate, the whole socio matrix, cultural matrix. Pottstown is very rich in diversity, which we all can note very well, but now it's time to move into a different type of understanding about how to manage the diversity. So I believe this is really also an extension arm of the commission. So in realizing that it's not just stressful issues in neighborhoods between neighbors with disputes over how one's caring for their property or not, or issues with animals, or issues, racial issues, or disputes of that nature, but it's actually an opportunity to really have a triage point for a lot of things that could become very explosive or intense if not handled. And to have this throughout the whole region is nothing but a benefit. I'd like to also say that because of this diversity out in the community, there are multiple layers of engagement, to problem solving, to brainstorming, to addressing resident concerns, with even mental health issues or financial issues or just basic needs that people have. You know, you have your 501s that are all running, and you have your churches, then you have individuals who are non-501c3, nonprofit, non-paid, who are actually contributing to facilitating a lot of the management of this diversity. So I think it's very important from my perspective, and one of the reasons why I seek to sit in this office is to be an overseer of, as well, that from the most fragile person unable to make a wise decision for themselves, to the youngest person in the community, to the most affluent person in the community, that the dignity and respect and honor is delivered in the same capacity all across the board. I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Hadida, Ms. Dugan?
I just would like to I hope that everybody will join us in April 24th for the Pay It Forward Day. In the next week, we will have information on our website, downtownpottstown.org, about that, and also for the cleanup that's going to be taking place in Pottstown in the downtown on April 24th and also on Saturday, April 26th. So hopefully people will start to look into that stuff and get involved.
Thank you. COG, Councilman Colt?
Tomorrow night's meeting.
Thank you. And I don't believe we have a report from the AEC.
Oh, sorry. I jumped.
Regional planning.
Yeah, since Steve's not here, I guess I can report on that. It was our first meeting, so we basically went through our restructuring, and then there was a review on our comprehensive plan for the region and how it fits into the rest of Montgomery County. And then the rest of the communities kind of gave a report what's going on in their areas. Mainly we talked about trying to revitalizing the Coventry Mall. That was not it.
Thank you. And Blighted Property Review Committee?
Blighted, yes, we have started meeting again, and the weather has been an impediment to progress. So now that the sun is shining, we'll be hot heavy on the trails, any blighted properties.
And do we have unfinished business to
Mr.
attend
Mayor,
to?
can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Back on the Environmental Advisory Committee, with the housing visions coming into partner with Genesis, and my question about the remediation for asbestos and other environmental concerns, I know that they addressed the issue from the table. I just have, and I think we were given a number of $35,000 that was allocated for mold remediation for that building. And I'm not an expert in mold remediation or square footage or comparatives, but I wondered if it would be inappropriate or excessive to allow our environmental committee to have some input or insight into making a comparative about how much remediation is needed and a building of that square footage and any comparatives with other projects and costs, just as
Would it be appropriate for me to?
I'm getting nods from both sides, so.
I think it's an appropriate task for the committee, EAC.
I can
Right.
answer, I guess, I know the condition of the building, and I guess, I believe all the asbestos, and it was remediated in 2007, I believe, for the most part.
because they put some in there for lead paint and,
The environmental agency came out to look at the paint, and then I'm not sure what the results were necessarily, but
but
as
just
far as
for,
the
just for
asbestos goes, that's
clarification,
been
that we
taken care of.
have all of that, because environmental is a very sensitive issue. I mean, even in the police department, you know, I was getting a review from Chief Wendell about, cancer linked to firefighting and the need for workers' comp coverage for people that come up with certain, multitudes of types of cancer, and they're linking it back now to firefighting. So I'm just saying from my, scientific bend of thinking, just to make sure that, into the 30-year tenure halfway, we're not finding some kind of a Superfund site condition all of a sudden. And not saying that any due diligence has been breached, but I'm just saying for us to take an additional step is an indictment.
Yeah, I'm sure with all the regulations that are in place in that area, there's gonna be a lot of hoops that they're gonna have to jump through, requirements that they will have to show have been satisfied, but certainly I think that's something we can ask the committee to look at as well, and maybe come up with questions that they would like answered.
To inform public is always better, because that's just my feeling.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to new business then. The first matter is looking for a motion to authorize a letter of support for the Keystone Employment Economic Plan grant application